Recording.
Now, perfect.
There we go. Good. Welcome everybody to our fireside chat. We are by the side of the fire today. So there is the fire. You'll be able to see the chimney and feel the heat radiating from the chimney. And I'm happy today to have as my guest coming from Germany, Martina. Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm a little bit shaky. I told Raluca before. I'm a little bit. Whew, this is big now. But yeah, I'm fine.
So you're feeling some energy already?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, I'm going to show your chart to everyone, if that's okay. That's what we do. And I'm really actually delighted to have you on. And I'm going to just share a few of the reasons why we've talked about this a little bit. You are a quad split projector, and that's very unusual. And let's have a little look at your chart. And for those that aren't familiar with what that means, then we can just have a little look here. And is your chart coming up yet? Is it showing?
No, it's WhatsApp, I think.
Okay, we may be in the wrong one. Let's get the right one. Yes, it is, isn't it? So just give me 1 second and we'll get that up there. So here we go. It's actually less intuitive than we would expect, but anyway, right, I can see a chart now. Here we go. Keep breathing, everybody. Wait, we're all projectors. We should be good at that. So now can you see your chart?
Yeah.
Should be coming through.
Oh, it's an N. Sorry, can I correct something? Can I correct something?
Please do. Yes?
It's an N. So it's ERN, not M.
Your name, I have a typo in your name. I'll correct that later.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to.
That's cool. Well, I want to look at the centers here. So let's just imagine we've never seen a human design body graph before. And there are 9 centers in the body graph. And what we can see straight away, anyone, even if you're brand new to human design, anyone looking at this can see that out of the 9 different centers, you have 8 of them colored in. And that's quite unusual in its own regard. For example, Raluca, who's also on the call, only has 2 of her centers colored in, and she has all of the rest white. She actually has 1 channel, so she has the same channel as you do down at the bottom right, the 1949. Now, what this means is that you have a lot of definition in your chart. The thing that makes a projector is 2 things. 1, we do not have the sacral colored in. So the white square down at the bottom is the center where you have that openness, that capacity to take other people in and project that and amplify that. So you have the sacral undefined because all of us projectors have the sacral undefined. Now, if there was no definition, you would be a reflector, but you have lots of definition. If there was a motor connected to your throat, then you would also be a manifester. But there's no motor connected to the throat, even though you have 3 out of 4 of the motors defined. So the motor it's the root down at the bottom, the emotional center over on the right, and the heart center just next to that. So that's like a little bit of a preview for what we're going to talk about. And the really interesting, I mean, it's pretty cool to be a quad split, to have you as a quad split on here. So is there anything you want to say before we start about being a projector? Like, how is it to live as a projector with a quad split? What's your experience so far of that?
It's so funny because I can just experience my life as it is. So for me, it's normal. But I read through a lot of stuff. And when I saw that a quad split is looking for someone who bridges these different parts, then I felt, yeah, that might be right. And I also felt that being with certain people is a good feeling for me, and then I can do more. Like we talked before about the talking what's on my mind thing, and I experienced that sometimes I'm better when I'm with a special person, that I can better get to this part, like there, and to verbalize myself what I learned, or what I read, or what's in my head. So yeah, this is one part where I found myself in, concerning the quad split. They also said that you are you maybe want to be with many people. So for this you got this person, for that you got that person, and I don't know if it's really like special, because I lived all the time like that. I don't feel a difference, so I don't know how to compare my normal life to the life of other people. But and I always did that, and I always felt like not like them, but also that is normal, I think, for people in comparison with others. So I really can't tell, but maybe there are words or texts or special things where I can say, yeah, okay, yeah, this I felt too, or this is something I experienced myself. So it's very
so
hard for me to.
It's so powerful. I'm just going to ask you, is it possible to come a little bit closer so we can have a little bit of volume? That'd be super cool. And I can hear you clearly as well. So this is always a challenge, isn't it? Is, you know, and when we're doing human design, we know us, we know what life has been like for us so far, and then we're given this chart. And, you know, one of the reasons I love having these conversations is because, you know, we look at here's what the theory is saying, here's what the graph is saying, the body graph is saying, and then here's a person who has this experience in their life. So I learn both ways around. I'm learning by looking at the chart, and I'm learning by hearing from you. So I do want to mention a few things, because it's a kind of a contradiction, this quad split thing. And the contradiction is, if we look at your chart, you know, we can see how much definition there is. We can see how, you know, people who have a lot of definition are here to teach others by being themselves. You know, you don't have, like Raluca has 7 open centers. I have 3 open centers. You have 1 open center, or an undefined center. So, you know, part of being a quad split, which means you have to have at least 8 centers defined. As a projector, you have 8 centers. It is about, you are here to be you. So what you said reflects that perfectly. You know, you said, well, I don't know what it's like being anyone else. I know what it's like to be me. Yeah. And that totally makes sense. Whereas when I talk with people who have a lot of openness in their chart, they feel everyone around them very intensely. But what you're saying makes perfect sense. You're saying that when you're around certain people, you feel different.
Yeah.
And it just makes such perfect, clear sense to me, looking, you know, there's your chart, and there's the splits that want to be bridged in different ways. They all want to be bridged, because all of us have this desire to feel this sense of wholeness. You know, we all want to feel that wholeness. So let's have another look at your body graph, and let's talk in specific about those splits. I mean, I'm also really interested to know how you ended up, how you came into the experiment. What was it like the first time someone showed you your body graph? That's really interesting to me as well. Should we start with that?
Yeah. It's a friend of mine. She introduced me to human design about 2 months ago. but maybe she mentioned it before, but I was not listening. But then she told me something about me, and she showed me a site where I can put my stuff in, my birth date and everything. And I looked then at my chart, and I was like, okay, this is colorful. And so I had nothing to compare with. So I was like, oh, this is pretty colorful. And then I was looking through the text you get at first when you do it on my body graph. And it was so funny. And in the next weeks, I always sent her a WhatsApp like, no, this is, and then I sent her like a quote from the text, like this and that, and I'm totally feeling that. And I don't know what else I sent her, but it was always like, it's totally amazing. It's almost creepy how good that fits. And yeah, I had this. I'm always like, yeah, maybe it's not the right thing. I always thought maybe astrology might be a right thing and a way to guide. Then I followed some other stuff, but with human design, and I heard some other people saying this exact same thing. They experienced that it's so on spot, on the point, and they felt totally seen when they read through the texts. Yeah, this was so my first thing with human design, and then it was like wanting to know more and want to go deeper. And then I looked through the internet, and I went deeper, and I wanted to go to the Facebook groups and to be a part of it and to know more. Yeah, and now I'm in the middle, so I'm so funny. The picture I have of myself in this experience at this point is me in the middle in my old room as I was a child, with all my stuff around me, like in a big chaos with information and cool things, and trying to connect the dots now to get a whole picture of it. Yeah.
This is really cool. It links so clearly with your profile, which we're going to come to later. Your profile as a 1-3. So this is the investigating part of it. But yeah. So let's dive a little deeper into your body graph here. Let's have a little look a bit closer. We're going to go through the connections that you have in your body graph. So of course, each of the centers has a different job to do, a different role, a different function. And I guess it's really cool to hear, once we're in the human design thing for years, it's kind of, we forget that moment when we first saw it. And I think a lot of people coming in are going to have that same experience of being like, because the mind is thinking, okay, so I put in the time that I was born, and then it calculated from the neutrinos coming in from wherever they're coming through all the planets and the sun and the earth and the moon and the nodes. And then that's activating these different 64 gates, which relate to the Chinese I Ching, which is thousands of years old, which are now on the body graph on these 9 different centers, forming 36 potential channels. And it creates this pretty picture, which I'm sort of not sure, but I'm going to get to know about it. And by the way, it can be spot on in certain aspects of who I am. Like, that's pretty like, the mind's kind of like, whoa. And then the body it's like there's something in us that says, well, wow, being a projector, it's like, wow, I'm a projector. I'm different to, 80% of people out there. I'm a different type. And so how, shall we start with being a projector? And so you're a projector. You're here to be a guide to others when invited. You're here to see and be seen. and you have emotional authority,
Yeah.
and this quad split. So, which I'd love to know more about those parts from your body graph that really resonated. Like, what anything you'd like to share?
Absolutely, the emotional authority. So there's so much emotional and sensitive things in my body graph that I was like, how can they know that I'm really like this? Also no, there's really so much.
So we talked about the emotional authority now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's this wave that you can read about this wave, and I always was on this wave without knowing that this wave really exists. So, but I never relied on it, because everything I felt before was more like, yeah, life is a roller coaster, or life is on a wave. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. And now I'm seeing, yeah, that's me. That's really me. That's not only people saying it. And now I'm about to find out when I'm on the high point, when I'm on the low point, and what I feel in this when I'm at this. So that I can know, okay, maybe today it's not so good, and I like to know where I feel it. So I'm experimenting with this emotional thing to really know where I can feel it, and where I can, so that I know, okay, that's maybe not a good time, and now is a good time. Because the reflector got 1 month, and I don't know, is it a day, or is it 2 days, or is it a few hours, or is it different? So I really like to know what's going on. It's like getting you to know yourself. Like, now I know that when you're getting sick, like really sick, then you make, yeah, my head is really hot and I should go to bed now. And then maybe it's a cold, maybe I should lay down. And this is the same thing I want to experience when I'm working with myself and this emotional authority. Because otherwise I don't know that because actually I'm acting like normal, because I don't know where I am. So oftentimes I said, oh no, sorry, I can't decide right now, I will decide tomorrow. But it's only like, I don't know on which point on my wave I am tomorrow. I don't know. It's just like I'm trying and learning. It's like trying and failing.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because what you just said is very powerful. Like, we're told there is no truth in the now for the emotional person, person with emotional authority.
Yeah.
However, there is the truth in the now is that you are at some point in your way.
Yeah.
So the truth in the now is for making decisions, but there is the reality of, right now we're talking and you're somewhere on a point in your emotional wave. And
yeah.
Life is rhythm, and there are so many different rhythms of nature, rhythms of the seasons, rhythms of our own being, rhythms of digesting and processing emotions. And for someone having the emotional center defined, it means that a channel, of course, which means the energy can flow so it doesn't get stuck in the emotional center. So, for you, it's the channel connecting down to your root, which is the 1949, the channel of synthesis. It's a design of being sensitive in the tribal circuitry. And, one of the things I love about the emotional authority is it really gives permission to those rhythms, and this wisdom of saying, well, when's the right timing to do this thing? That's so powerful to fit in with the rhythms, because I don't know about you, but even as a non-emotional authority person, as a splenic authority, I find when I get the timing right, my spleen is telling me when is the right timing. And when timing is correct, things can flow. And when timing is off, we can meet a lot of extra resistance and things don't work out. And so it's the timing for the decision making. And yeah, like it's so powerful to have that awareness of the waves, and especially for you having the complexity of, you know, the different sensing centers in different parts of your split. You know, even in any one moment, there's going to be different things happening in your body graph. So,
and it can be pretty overwhelming. So I didn't know what was going on before, and I don't know if it's, sorry, maybe it's just me, but this is me, and I'm experiencing sometimes such an overwhelming feeling. So between hearing on my emotions and then being in some part of my body, if you see it like a map, and I don't know where I am at this point. So I could say to the quadruple split, it can be very, very irritating not to know, and I have to see it. This is a special part of myself. I have to see or imagine stuff. If I don't see it, if it's so if I can't make a picture up to it, it's hard to understand it for me. So then, and therefore the wave is a good picture to understand a complex thing.
And it's a simplification, isn't it? Because there's a wave within a wave within a wave, and then there's 4 different waves for all the different parts. So one thing we know for certain is being a quad split projector is not going to be boring. You know, it's not going to be dull. There's always going to be plenty going on in different parts of the body graph. And it's, of course, for a projector that's very open, there's lots going on, but it's stuff they're feeling outside of them. You have lots going on inside of you. I'm just picking up some, is there someone unmuted on the call? We just, if you're listening live, could you please just double check you're muted? We're just picking up a little background noise there. Johnny, let's mute Johnny. And that will be really helpful to get a nice clean audio. So I guess that we can't necessarily consider the emotional authority as fully separate from the fact that you've got the quad split. Shall we just go around your body graph? And I think it'll be really useful to people watching as well to, I mean, I know you've drawn this out, but to actually see what does it mean to be quad split? There'll be people watching who aren't yet 100% certain on, you know, how the splits work. So what we might do is first of all talk about the channels that you've got defined there. How does that sound there, Martina? Is that
cool?
Let's go through that. So how about we start at the top? So we've got the yellow one at the top, the ajna center. Sorry, the head center at the very top, connected to the ajna, which is the green center. And in there you have that channel, the 2461. Which is the channel of awareness, the design of a thinker. We're not going to go into all of these, but I'll just name where they are. This one's part of the individual circuitry. Then if we look going down to the throat, we can see that the ajna, the green one, is not connected to the throat. The throat's where you would expect it to be. But you have got that hanging gate 11. So 11 is looking for gate 56 to connect. So 56 is one of your bridge gates. So that means if you are connecting with someone who's a 56, or you're in the same space as someone with a 56, you might find it easier at that time to be able to communicate ideas and we're able to express all that stuff that's going on in the top 2 centers. There can also be conditioning aspects of that going on. And then we'll move down to the throat. We've got the brown throat center connected down to the G center. So the throat's all about communication, about manifestation. speaking things out into being. And you've got the G center connected. So that's the 1333, which is the channel is called the prodigal. And it's the design of being a witness in the collective circuitry. And so if we think about the G center, it's the place where our spiritual identity is, it's our sense of belonging. And so people that have the G connected to the throat are really able to have that sort of communicate from the heart, not the heart as in the ego, the will, getting things done type heart, but the heart as in, you know, your purpose for being here on earth. But of course, for me, I'm the other way around. I've got my ajna connected to my throat. So it's about explaining things logically that can come through my voice there.
This is so cool.
Different. I always find it interesting because it's so different, like just listening to people's voices when they communicate, when they've got something connected to the throat and what it is. So then the next two you've got, if we look over on the left, you've got the spleen there, and you've got 5 different gates activated on the spleen. So the spleen is not your authority. For me, it's my authority. It's being able to survive, being able to know what's safe, what's healthy. And the spleen says, no, don't do that. But it's a very quiet little voice, so it can be easy to miss it. So you have a lot of energy on the spleen, and that's connected with this channel, the 2644. And that's the channel of surrender. It's the design of a transmitter. It's the capacity to influence others in the tribe. And that connects across to the ego, the will, the heart center, which is that red triangle. And then in your final split, we've got the root, where the pressure's coming into your body, connected across that channel we mentioned it earlier, the 1949, connecting across to the emotional center. And of course, when you have the root defined, it means you're better able to, to deal with being under pressure, because that energy can flow up into the emotional solar plexus center. Now, as far as bridge gates, the will center, the red triangle, and the brown triangle on the right, you've got the gate 40. So 37 is another one of your bridge gates. So that would then form that complete channel on that right-hand side there. You also have all those bridge gates at the bottom left of your chart. You've got those 3 gates from the spleen that are looking to connect across to the root. So you've also got gates 54, 38, and 58. We're of course studying some of the gates, but these bridge gates are very worthwhile for you to study. Now, which ones have I missed? You have some other bridge gates as well. There's definitely one more, which is the gate 16 on the left. So from the spleen connecting up to the throat, that gate 16 would form a channel there from the spleen, which is on the left, to the throat, which is the brown square. You have the 48, so that's looking for the 16 to bridge your split. And what I can resonate. So I'm a single split, and actually I have a split along that 16-48 line. So 48 is my bridge gate. Mm-hmm. So, and that's the gate of depth, and the 16 is the gate of skill. So when those two come together, it's the channel of talent. So for example, if your chart and my chart connect, you bridge my split. So I know how it is to feel like I have that sense of like there's something a bit missing in me, and I need other people to for my full potential to come out. And that's just a single split, where of course I've got one bridge gate, where you've got at least 6 bridge gates to bridge different parts of your split. So I can identify to some extent with what you're saying about, feeling different things around different people, and that split wanting to bridge. How does all that land so far? That's sort of like a bit of an overview of the quad split.
I have that, and I tried that with a chart of a friend before, so the friend that introduced me to human design, and I saw that she bridges me in a lot of ways, at least the three from the root up. And I think she also bridges my ajna and the throat. It was so funny, and I was texting her and was like, "You're bridging a lot of my gates," and she was like, "Yeah, I'm here for that." It was pretty funny. No, it was just we were just joking, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's a classic. Yeah. So and so the interesting difference between like so split definition is kind of looking to bridge that split, and that's sort of simple compared to the triple split and the quad split. The triple split projector, I don't know if you saw the interview we had with Anne. She's a triple split. We hopefully will have some more triple splits on as well, so we can get to feel that type. But the triple split is kind of like quite happy, like, oh yeah, I've got this over here, I've got that over there, I've got these different ways of being, and it's kind of like there's like just that like, it's not so much the need to bridge the splits, it's more like the diversity of experience of life, you know, having different fingers in different pies. Like I had a coaching client once with triple split, and you know, he was working full time in this job, but then he would travel and do the job elsewhere, and then he was buying a house and doing that up, and you know, it's kind of, there was just so much going on in different areas, and he was doing well in all those areas. Whereas the quad split, again, it's more that desire to actually bridge the split, find the people that bridge the different aspects of the split in different ways. Would you like to say anything more about when you, like, how does it feel when you're just doing you compared to when you're hanging out with someone where you feel that bridging? You said you felt more alive, more yourself. Like, is there anything else there to share about?
So I'm guessing that they are bridging splits of mine, because I don't have the body graph of everyone I know. So
Right.
But when I got this feeling, like this kind of feeling when I'm with a person, I feel like they unlock a door. So maybe it's unlocking a door to get me to a place where I can't go alone. So you have to. Oh, there are so many pictures. Sorry, I can't.
It's so perfect. When we're talking, it's like your actual, we can, you know, like I can feel the different things going on. You know, as a single split, I sometimes feel like I'm trying to run in two different directions all at once.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got four, and you've also got the incarnation cross of four ways as well. So, you know, I just want, it's beautiful just feeling that. And yeah, it's so perfect for us to hang like this. So, and I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No problem. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's a door thing. Or I was thinking about sometimes in some films, they are like, when you go into a trap and you need another person that unlocks the trap with you, and you need a second one. And yeah, these kind of pictures come into my head. But it's not a feeling. You were asking for a feeling. Yeah, it's more like being more free in one direction. I don't know exactly in which direction it goes with the people. It's just telling what I feel in this moment. And it's not really knowing, it's more feeling. It's more, with this person, I connect in this kind of way, and we unlock these topics, and with that person I unlock this. But when you ask me, or if you asked me, would have asked me before I was introduced to human design, I would be like, I think everyone is like that, because you got different friends, and you can do that with one friend, and you can do that with another friend, you know. So it seems totally normal to me, because I'm trying to get behind the picture, and so I don't know if that is really the quad split I'm feeling, or if it's just human and normal.
It's so clear what you're saying. It's like, you know, we all have different friends and we do different things with different people. So, and of course, like, how do you know? Maybe I'm just a human being, but then human design comes, and you're like, well, isn't everyone like that? And then human design comes along, and the picture you just shared is so powerful of having a lot of power, but almost like different people can come in with a key and unlock different aspects or different facets, or, you know, it's like a sort of a 3D, at least three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle, which has these different points where we can unlock each other.
Yeah, but it's at the same time, it's super frustrating when you know about it and you try to do it by yourself, and it doesn't work. So it's like you can't work that long hours. So it's a sacral, I know, but it's the first thing that came to my mind. But and then you are not that creative when this person is not around, or you can't do this in this kind of way when that person is not around. And it's like, well, what am I without my people?
Right. Yeah. Okay. It's like that you need those other keys, those other people to activate your full potential in your design. How does that feel?
It was just a thought that came up when I learned about it. So, but maybe that explains also why. So I'm not in the dark anymore. So I know about it. So I know when I'm alone and I should do a project alone, where I should do some super crazy creative stuff. And I know, maybe it's not that super crazy creative. Maybe not that, but when this person, so when I'm going for a coffee with that person, then we can talk about it, and maybe then the magic happens, and I can go and like, I can take it from there and like go to my desk again and like, there you are. I like make it like a shower. Then sorry, this is super weird, but this is my head.
I don't think it's weird at all. I think you know. I mean, let's talk a little. You work with the visual. You're a visual artist. You're an illustrator. So to these images that are coming through are really powerful, and it's part of being a quad split, that it's an emotional authority, that it's not just one thing. So I'm really grateful that you're taking the time and energy to put this experience into words, because I find it's fascinating. So thank you for doing that, because it really you know, it's like we're all curious. You know, I'm curious about like what's it like to be not just you, but be any other person. So it's like when someone takes time to put it into words, it doesn't matter if it doesn't 100% make sense to the mind. You know, I can feel it. I can experience that. And you know, Pascal's just agreeing there on the chat as well. It's super interesting. So thank you. How did you end up doing graphics and illustration, graphic design, illustration? Was that something that was always in your life, or do you feel it's one aspect of your quad that's split, that's being expressed? Like, how is that?
So drawing was in my life since ever. So I drew as a child, and this was a good way to keep me calm. So I drew with a friend, and my mother was in the kitchen, and so we both were drawing at the table and making lots of stories up when we are drawing. So I can remember. So I remember the friend with who I was drawing, and I have all my not all, but a lot of my drawings from when I was a child. And I was last week I was at my mother's, and I went through the old drawings and showed it to my boyfriend. I was like, yeah, and this is like, I tried to draw something that was in my head, and tried to I don't know, digest stuff, and to get it out of my head. And I found it was pretty cool because I drew houses, or the interior of houses, like when you have a piece of paper and glue another piece of paper and glue another piece of paper, and then you go to the through the rooms of this building or of this apartment. And there was one thing where you can also open the drawer. So yes, it was always in my mind, and because it was so obvious, my mother told me, yeah, you can do something creative, maybe have not so much money, or go and do a bank job, like in a bank. So something serious. And I was like, yeah,
Okay.
maybe not. And I don't know, I think this was the biggest thing and the thing I was the most good at. So I was like, yeah, of course. I do get graphic design. I do graphic design, and after I graduated, I went to an ad agency. So I did the classical way, and then after a few years, I quit, and then I got self-employed, and then I found the way back to the illustration. Yeah.
It's interesting. I get a sense that there's many ways in which you can be creative, and the visual is one obviously very strong way for you to express your creativity.
It's hard because in my head the picture looks different. So some people told me to express myself. So when I was older, to express myself or what's in my head, because it was not so good to get a view on, to draw it. And I was like, no, I'm simply not able to draw it, because if I started, then it was like, no, this is really not what's in my head. So therefore I was saying that I am really looking for the telepathic connection, so that I can send someone this picture. So it's much more beautiful in my head than I would be able to bring it out on a piece of paper. And this is, yeah, sometimes it's very frustrating, but yeah. So I'm not really an artist. I'm doing stuff for people. So I love to draw, and I love to do graphics for people and illustration for people. But it's not anymore that they rip my heart out when they don't like it. But if I would be a real artist, so if I would do real art, it would bring me to tears. If somebody would say, this what you're painting, or this what you're like expressing, I don't like it, because in this case they would say, I don't like how you be on the inside.
Isn't it a weird thing that we have, like, art critics who can say, no, I don't like it? It's like if it's the expression, and I get what you're saying, anything you express is never going to be the full magnificent glory of everything that's inside you. It's like a little bit might come through into the physical form, like, whether it's just a conversation, or whether someone's a dance artist, or, whether someone's, or visual like you, because what's inside of you is so big and vast and infinite that it's like, and your job is to try and get some of that down on a bit of paper. Like, if you manage to get 1%, well done. If you're getting 10% of that down, that's amazing. And this thing about art critics and people saying, I mean, I don't know if it's maybe it's a German thing, or I don't know, but this critical thing of, like, we have art critics in the world, right, who are like, no, I don't like this piece of art. And it's like, who cares whether you like it or not? It's like, it's there to resonate with the people that get it. So to have some, and how can if it's genuine art, if it's a job for a client, they can be like, oh no, I don't like that, I need it more like this. Yeah. But if it's a genuine expression of the creativity and the art inside yourself, it's like, that's come through, that's come onto the bit of paper, And that's there for those people who get it, who can feel it. Who cares if you don't like it? You know, it's like, but then we live in this world where there's other forces at play and art critics and people who are like, no, this is rubbish or this is good. And I just don't get that in terms of real art, you know?
Yeah, I think it would be okay for me if there are always people that are not on my frequency. It's totally okay for me. Not everybody is like me. It would be super boring. And it's totally allowed to not like my stuff. But then these people wouldn't go to my exhibitions. So it's like, if I would do that, then scenario right now, because I'm not doing that. So I'm not doing an exhibition. But
Sure.
in the case I would do that, I would be like, yeah, if you don't like it, then don't go to my exhibitions. And if you are there, it's okay. You're totally allowed to not like it, but don't blow it out like, oh, I was like on Facebook, oh, I was on this exhibition and I really don't like the stuff. So I also think some stuff is not my thing. I don't like it. I don't like the colors and I don't like the stuff. But I think it's the way you express it to the people or through a medium like Facebook or the internet in general. Yeah. Like,
yeah, I mean, my personal opinion on that is it says a lot more about the person that what kind of person is it that takes time to actually say, no, I don't like this, it's rubbish. Like, what a waste of human life force, you know, it's like, what kind of person does that? So I'm like, yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm like, well, it's there for the people that like it. But I also feel that what we're talking about here with art, as an example, is a perfect metaphor for how it is to be a projector. You know, like, we're here as projectors to guide the people that we're correct for us to guide. We're not here to be able to guide everyone or anyone. Do you see what I mean? So because we haven't talked much yet about your, like, just being a projector, being here to guide others, waiting for invitation, having bitterness or success. Like, how is that experience going so far?
When I read at first that I'm a projector and I should first wait for the invitation, I was like, yeah, well, maybe I should have done that more times before I gave my wisdom unasked to people, you know. Yeah, no. So yeah, I did this. I totally did this. I presented the stuff from which I thought was totally good for this person. I was like, hey, I'm giving you a present. He was like, I don't want this present. I was like, oh, this is so rude. Yeah, but now,
like, that little picture right there, that kind of sums up the experience of so many projectors. Yeah. Of, like, you know, the visual of it is very powerful. The bitterness. Come on, I'm trying to give you something here, you know.
Yeah, but then so when you know about it and you know that, and the funny thing is, I talked before with my boyfriend and he was like, so he was saying almost the same. It was all before human design. He was like, you can't give it to people if they not ask for it. That is kind of rude and invasive. So because I tried it on him, he's a generator. I don't know if he knows about it. I don't think so. So he's a generator, and I tried to give him some good advice from my point of view, and he was like, what are you talking about? Go away. I don't like it. I don't like what you're doing. And he was really expressing what he was feeling. And yeah, for me, it was very painful. But in the end, I was thinking that he's totally right. So I tried to go outside. So outside of me and my ego, and I went outside and tried to look from the outside of the whole situation. I was like, yeah, damn, he's right. I was totally invasive, and yeah, I tried to correct him where he didn't ask for. Yeah. So this is the biggest experience I had. So I think some people are more polite in a way when they tell you to go away and
Leave me alone.
not give you good advice.
Yeah.
And
I
he
mean,
was
what you're describing there with your boyfriend, if he's a generator, that makes such perfect sense. And he's actually, you know, in his response, his authentic response, you know, that's the generator strategy, is to wait to respond. And if you're coming towards him in a way that isn't right for him and he's just saying, nah, I don't want that, it's super powerful. I mean, I know personally for me as well, us as men often have this feeling of like, you know, even if we're not perfect or we're making mistakes, we've got it. You know, it's like, I've got this. And, you know, I don't want a woman in my life coming in and telling me, do this, do that, do the other. I'm like, I don't want to feel like emasculated. You know, it's like I've got this. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, if you want your opinion, I'm going to come and ask you.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this can be, I mean, I'm a projector, and it can be a challenge for guys hanging out with projector women. I'd be very interested. I'm sure there's a big theme here for, you know, a projector woman. Like, how does a projector woman give her gifts without a guy feeling emasculated and feeling like, you know, he's feeling diminished by the fact that, yeah. So I'm guessing waiting for invitation is a key part.
Kind of. Yeah.
Have you had positive experiences where you did wait for invitation and where, or correct experiences where someone then invited you to share something?
Yeah, it feels more welcome. It definitely feels more welcome when somebody is inviting me to get my knowledge or get my advice. And then I can talk with him or her about the situation. And it's not like, hey, I saw that you got this and that. I can give you. And this is more like, now it doesn't feel right. Now it really doesn't feel right. And the other way, when somebody asks me, can you help me with this? There's one of the Adobe programs. Can you help me with this? But I was seeing this is I'm making this up, so this is just and then I was seeing her doing this stuff for about 15 minutes before, but I had to wait. And then, so this never happened, but this is a example that could have happened. So I'm taking myself back. It's for me, myself is more important than before, but it's also super important that I'm not always in the first row. That I'm not always doing like, I know something, please, I know something. So stepping back, getting to the fifth row, and then taking a look, and then waiting to be invited, feeling a lot better than like being around this person for all the time to please invite me, please invite me.
It's so interesting when you do the two different things. Like, what happens in me is that it's like you've taken the push out of it, and
yeah.
when I feel you sitting up on the front of your seat, like doing the like this one, it's like part of me is just like, please leave me alone. I'm trying to chill here, you know.
It's
like,
invasive.
I'm just being me, and please just leave me alone. Because whereas the other one, it feels like there's a space when the push has gone out of that. There's a space, and then something, my curiosity can come in, and I'd be like, oh, okay, so what about this and this?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as overbearing or as like, because I'm guessing with you, you know, you got a lot going on. So if you're coming in uninvited, it's like, are you bringing chaos or are you bringing clarity into that situation? You know, it's like, what are you bringing into a situation when you know, when you're not invited? It's and I so empathize because I feel like as projectors, we have this capacity to see, right? So I think pretty much every projector I've ever spoken to has this experience of someone is doing something. They may be struggling, they may be not struggling, but I can see, the projector can see, you can see, they could be doing this a whole load easier. They could be more efficient. They could be doing this in better alignment or get better results or use less energy or effort, or, you know, it could be more beautiful. But the thing that we often as projectors don't have the awareness on is how our energy affects that situation. We're so focused on the other that we don't always have that awareness of, oh, well, if I jump in here and do this, and we have to learn it again and again and again by getting it wrong and ending up feeling bitter. And what you've described is so powerful because it is the feeling of being a projector is, as we start to get it, it's like you kind of start and you're midway through kind of not being invited. You're like, oh shit, I'm doing it again. And then it's like, and so to actually be able to calibrate and feel the difference between those different gestures, those way of being is so, so powerful. And, you know, it's easy for someone to say, just wait for invitation. But personally, I've got a third line. You've got a third line. I think it's important for us to fuck it up lots of times and until we don't need to anymore. I don't know. What do you think?
I think
What do you feel?
I just wanted to say something else, but yeah, I think so too. I'm learning much better when I'm allowed to fuck it up. At
When you're allowed
first,
to what, sorry?
To fuck it up.
To fuck it up. Yeah.
When I'm allowed to try and test something, I like to try and test something, even if people tell me, no, you can't do it because this and that. Not something life-threatening, but so no, you can't mix these two colors because it will be totally shitty on the wall. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, I try it. And then it looks shitty, and then I have to paint again. Well, but I like the feeling that I had the experience. I really like to see on the, so I have something in my head, and when I try it, I see it on the outside. Then I see when it's on the outside, it doesn't look so cool as on the inside, and then I fucked it up. Or the physical laws didn't work on the outside. So in my brain, it was totally different. But I tried it, and it's such a cool feeling to try it out. And I'm much more okay with this. That trying and failing is maybe something that's good for me, or that deepens the experience.
It's such a, I don't know, how deeply have you explored the profile so far, the 1-3 thing?
I don't know. I read some, how deep I went.
What you're describing sounds exactly like a third line. I'm a 3-5 and you're a 1-3 in your profile. So, you know, my third line is on the conscious side. Your third line is in the unconscious side. But I'm smiling because what you're describing to me is exactly the third line experience as I experience it, you know. And even if we look at that word in English, mistakes, it's like, you know, if you're in a film, take one, snap. Okay, let's do it. Okay, let's do it again. Take two. You know, we do 10 takes for one scene. And the mistakes are the takes that we missed it slightly, you know. But if you're trying to shoot a bullseye target with a bow and arrow, you know, how can you expect to always shoot bullseyes if you never learned the skill? You have to learn how to use a bow and arrow. And the first 10 arrows don't even hit the bloody target. And then you kind of maybe get one on the white bit in the corner, and over time, your arrows get closer and closer. And if you practice that long enough, then you can hit the bullseyes. But the third line way is to enjoy that whole process to learn to hit bullseyes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's like when you're learning handstand, you first normally you learn to fall. So you won't stand at the first time, so you learn to fall. so you know how to fall, and then then you can feel good in trying to stand. So you first learn to fall before you stand. It's super cool. So it's a super cool visual for me. So
this is the gift of the third line, right? Is the person that gives us we give ourselves, or we give other people give us permission to fail, to get it wrong, to make a mistake. You know, like when I was teaching swimming in Australia, like how can it was so interesting, because if I said to someone, like, they're swimming through the water like this, and there's loads of resistance, you can imagine the drag. And I want them to get to there and be streamlined and gliding through the water. Now, I used to spend the first 4 years, I would be like, try and like relax and lean in and get your balance in the water. And it would work slowly. Then one day I said to people, okay, let's do the opposite. Instead of trying to get it right, actually, why don't you lift your head up higher and get it worse? Let's see what that feels like. Try and swim through the water like a seahorse, your head up. And then people are like, bloody hell, that's hard. And then like, well, that's what you're doing if you get bad, and then they just were able to balance. So sometimes, getting it wrong on purpose, getting it wrong gives the body the information, gives the system the intelligence to be able to get it right more easily.
Yeah.
And the shadow side of the third line is being a perfectionist.
Oops.
So, it's like to give ourselves, as third line people, to give ourselves permission to fuck it up.
Yeah.
Of course not if someone's going to die, or if it's going to be,
I said nothing life-threatening.
Nothing like what?
Life-threatening.
Life-threatening, right? Of course, but the thing is, like, I don't know how old are you now, Martina? Like, how many years of this have you done?
38.
Right. So by the time we've got 3 or 4 decades under our belt as a third line, we are probably going to be the people who can, you give us a new situation, a new skill, we're probably going to be able to get it right quite quickly without having to fuck it up 20 different ways. Do you see what I mean? Someone asked us about third line. I think it was in the last call we had. Does it get easier with age? I think it was Trudy was saying, well, does the third line become easier? And of course, most people are going to have a third line somewhere in their chart. So I definitely feel that resonance. And now you're a 1-3, which is the investigator martyr. So how do you, when you were talking earlier about having all the information laid out and researching it and investigating it, that resonated. How do you find that?
Yeah, totally, because I made some stuff. I printed out some stuff because I did some research, and I love I love this topic of being a projector and going then deep, and then I want to know it all. So first my stuff, and then maybe. So first I try to get my stuff, like the projector stuff and the 1-3 stuff and everything, and then I maybe switch to generator. But I'm super interested because when I'm interested, I'm going deep, and then I'm like diving through the information sea, and then I'm trying to pick information wherever I can. And it's not that I'm very good in remembering stuff. So when you ask me what maybe, so the 19 is my 19.4, so it's my sun gate, but I can't tell you really anything about, not really, but I think it's important that you know where to look. So I stored my information somewhere. And it's super important because there's so much in my head. I don't know if I would be able to store it all and to have a good life, like with breathing and everything. So
it makes such perfect sense about the way of learning. How do we learn human design, right? Because I don't know if you find this with things, but when it's a kind of a deep knowledge, a deep information, personally, I find that when I look at something, if I'm not yet ready to learn it, it just doesn't go in. You know, like variables. I know a little bit about the variable arrows at the top, but it hasn't yet internalized itself in my being. I haven't yet digested that information.
Yeah.
And I'm not yet ready to digest that information. And it comes back to that thing about timing we were saying earlier, is at some point in my experiment, I started to become open to all the gates. And I'm like, oh, yeah, cool, gates. Whereas before then, I was like, I don't know, there's 64 of them. That's a lot to learn. For now, I'm just going to worry about being a projector because I'm not ready for all that stuff. And then, you know, a few years later, the information comes back. But I love what you said about knowing where to find the information. It's like, you know, knowing there is such a thing as a gate and a channel and a center and a planet and then these variable arrows that when the time comes, I'll learn it. But I like that sort of patience in that approach.
My patience, you said patience, sorry, the connection was, the sound was not so good.
Yeah, I can repeat that. You were sharing about finding, you know, investigating loads of stuff, diving in, and then you were saying that some of the information, you're looking at it and you're like, well, I know there's something there to learn, but right now I don't get it, but I know where it is, and I know, you know, so as projectors, I don't know if you've heard this, but we're designed to learn systems. So if a generator wants to get something done, they can just work and work and work, and if it's correct for them, it'll get done. But us as projectors, without that life force, sacral energy, it's like we need to do it smart. We need to know how the system works. We need to know if I do A, then B, then C, then that's going to get me on the path to making this thing work.
The funny thing is,
that was, I don't know, did that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So learning the system. So do we want to talk a little about, I've got your 19th gate here. Can you see that? I've pulled that up here, the gate of wanting.
Yeah.
Which is your sun gate. Whoops, I've gone off it. Here we are. So if we go to the top right of the column of numbers, the black, the sun is at the top, and this is the gate. 19 is the gate of wanting. And if we go, let's go back to the gate itself, and we'll pick up the keynote for that. So approach is the name, and the gate of wanting is the keynote. So that all things are interrelated is apparent and manifested through the action of approach. So it's, you also have it in gate 4. Can you see it's in your south node as well? So the 4th symbol down. So you also have it in gate 4. So then on this program, on this software, it's giving us the keynotes going into a little more detail for 4th line and for 1st line. So the 4th line in the south node. 4th line is the team player. It's an individual approach which attracts and accepts cooperation. So if we put that together with this picture of you being this powerful, creative, whatever you are, with these different key points, it's like there is a similar energy there of attracting people in to be a team player, to accept the cooperation. So in the exaltation, it's Mars, the power and energy for outward activity and the ability to accept others as long as they can keep up. A driving force that can benefit the whole group. The energy to seek out and exalt in the company of others. So it's really about other people. Sorry,
there was someone knocking at the door.
Okay, no worries. Do you want to go check it out?
Yeah.
So, Raluca, you have this channel. Is there anything you want to jump in and say about this particular channel or this particular gate as we're here?
The channel, when somebody talked to me about the channel, when I had like somebody sharing with me about human design, about my profile, was when I felt really seen and recognized, just like Martina said, and wondering, how do they know about this about me? How come they know all this about sensitivity and being good with, like, you know, massage and feeling things around and having a special connection with animals. Everything was like, connecting. So that was my
this
first.
is your only channel, isn't it, Raluca? This
Yes.
1989 is your one and only channel, the design of being sensitive.
Yes. Yeah. So for me, it was also, again, like Martina said, so amazing. How come they know about this? Does this person know so much about me? And he said, it's your channel. Oh, okay. So let's read more about this. Yeah. So this is how it was for me too. So it makes sense for me.
So Martina, I have 49 as my sun gate. Mm-hmm. Now we're not. I don't know if we're going to go into it in a load of detail, but sometimes when I meet people, I'm like, there's no mistake that we're talking. When we look at the charts, it's like, you're 19, my 49, those two match up. And there's all these different, bridgings that happen in our charts. But this 49 is the 19 is very interesting to me because I have the gate 49 on its own on an undefined emotional center. So this 19 is quite a key gate for me. I am learning about it. Now, your sun, of course, is on the first line because you're a 1-3, you're an investigator, Marta. So the exaltation on the sun is its interdependence, the successful approach that does not lose its individual character and acceptance, the pressure of wanting without losing one's identity when being accepted by others. So this really is one of the key themes of being a projector is, like, we need other people to be fully expressed. We need eventually, I need motivation, so I'm going to describe it like that. But we flourish, we thrive when we have these invitations, when we get seen and recognized, and then we're invited to some kind of successful interaction with other people. But what this is speaking about is not losing yourself in the connection with other people. It's that interdependence. It's like you're powerful as an individual, you're solid as you, but then in the connection with others, it's like 1 and 1 makes 3 or 4 or infinity, rather than 1 and 1 making 1.5 when 2 people come together and it's a codependent relationship. So let me read this again. First line, interdependence. So this is your sun gate activated on the first line as you're an investigator. The successful approach that does not lose its individual character in acceptance. The pressure of wanting without losing one's identity when being accepted by others. And of course, you have the whole channel. So that pressure is the pressure from the root. Then you're accepted and valued by other people, but without losing your own sense of self and who you are. And of course, then you've got the team player there as well, as the fourth line. And that's connecting beautifully up through this 49 on the emotional center, which is a revolution, stirring things up and mixing things up. So it's a very interesting channel with those two energies. So that's your sun gate, just there. What else would you like to explore on your body graphs? Anything you'd like to go into and dip into a little?
Yeah, it would be the variables. But you said you're not so into it. No, the funny thing is, this was the first thing I was interested in. Because I saw something in one of the groups, and I was like, "Whoa, there's a not a predefinition, but kind of a predefinition for your environment and your digestion and the way you learn the best." And I was like, "Okay, there's a way how I learn best, because there are always people telling you what is the right way to do something." So. And I can't be stubborn. I can't like, yeah, maybe you're right. I can try it. But so I wanted to know what the right way of learning is. And so I know my errors, and I just had like 1 or 2 sentences that I think it's focused in a calm environment or something like that. But I was like, yeah, it can be. So this is because these things are so detailed. I'm so, okay, what can they reveal to me, you know? Yeah. And there was
It makes
another,
sense for you as an investigator to want to investigate everything.
yeah.
I'm not in a position to bring you more. I'm still starting to get a feel for like left and right, and then of course each of the four arrows means something different. So you know, it's to do with the consciousness of and how consciousness and your body interrelate, the mind and the body. So you have two pointing left and two pointing right. So there's a bit of balance, a bit of both going on there. So that's as far as I am into it.
Okay.
And I know for me it'll come when it's ready. So that's a nice thing. Raluca, did you want to say something there?
Yeah, I've dived a bit into my variables, so I can share something about one that we have in common. If I'm not mistaken, the top right arrow, which points right, that's the mind. And what I've learned recently, also I'm just dabbling into it, is that the right mind learns better by just being in the environment and absorbing everything without taking notes, just being completely present.
Yeah.
And what's said there, yeah. So the school system is not made for the right mind, because everybody says take notes, make everything like structured. And the right mind, what I understand and how my experience has been, and it made sense for me, is like I listen to something, I read a book, and then I feel like I don't know anything. It feels like I have a sense, a taste of it. But then if somebody comes and asks me something, poof, I have the exact information. I have no idea how, it just comes out. Cool. So that's what I understand so far, based on what I read a little bit about learning experience for the right mind, as opposed to the left one, who's supposed to be like taking notes and is just focusing on certain things and actually remember stuff right away after hearing a lecture or, being in a class. I don't know if this resonates with you.
The not taking notes, yes, but I'm not like, I think I'm not like you, like when someone asks me, then I don't know if I could give out the information so easily. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if I could then spit it out like nothing what was happening. You know what I mean?
I mean,
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, it's not, doesn't happen to me with anything. It's just with certain topics. And the thing is, I can't even remember where the information comes from. Sometimes I say, I know something, I have no idea from which book, because I read like 5 books in parallel, but I know this information from some source.
Yeah.
so I can share it. But that's about it so far with my experience about the right mind.
Cool, so, thank you.
This makes sense for me. I'm a right mind as well on that arrow. And that was beautiful, Raluca. And what I'm feeling is like, it's almost like the left arrow is going into the details. It's like the detail, the logic, the sequence, these are the 10 things I need to memorize. Whereas the right mind is, the information is stored out there in the field. And it's almost like, by relaxing and opening up and seeing the bigger picture, the information can come in, but it's a bit of a mystery. And our education system is built on very logical, very rational foundations, which is basically training people. It's the old academic system, to become a researcher or a professor in the details, which, and then they expanded that to include the whole population. So it's not designed for this transmission of information from the ether, from the the big picture. And I probably made that sound really woo-woo, but when we read the variable arrows, I think it can be. So you're right at your PR for the first one as well, Raluca. Yeah. All 3 of us have got that one pointing right.
Yeah, I have like just the one pointing left, the top left pointing left. Everything else is right for me.
I think that's the same as mine, actually.
Yeah, we're gonna look. Yeah.
When we get to it.
Yeah.
So this is the cool thing, is to experiment. And how did that land with you, Martina? Is that bringing any clarity? Is it something to experiment more with, maybe?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Of course, it always is.
It's super interesting to hear the opinion of others, and to think about learning is super important, because this is the way we can take in information and transform it into wisdom. Sorry.
But wisdom is in the body, right? That's the process, is to digest the information, and it becomes wisdom in the body.
Yeah.
It's not always, we don't always know why we know something, but sometimes we just know it in the body.
Yeah.
Wisdom.
Absolutely. And therefore learning for me, or the correct way of learning for me, is super important, because so school was super hard. No, it wasn't super hard. I was okay. I was not the best, but I was not the worst. But I was like in the middle field, but I could have been better, because I was always a curious child. And then at the higher school, at the gymnasium, it's not this playful system anymore that you got on the ground in your first school years. So in your first school years, you can do some stuff, and you can be a child, and then you're 12 and you're going up, and then it's not fun. It's not fun anymore. And this is what I'm still very sad about it. What I'm still very sad about, that school wasn't fun, because school and education should be fun, because you can better process it if you can put it, if you have fun with it, if you can play with it. And yeah. So if I see a friend of mine, she's a school teacher, and I think she got a first level class with a very little ones, and I think she tries to do it in a different way. She's also a projector, and she tries to do it in a very playful way. But then after the first 4 school years, they all will go to the real hard life, and this is super sad. I'm super sad for the children that have to go to school now.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get what you're saying. And I think that's something as projectors that we can really see. You know, we've talked in some of these conversations about having children. We've talked about the education system. We've talked about work. We've talked about all these things, which sort of, they just are a certain way. Like your mum said to you, you can go and get a job in a bank and have money, or you can go, and it's kind of like, well, hang on a minute. That's a bit of an oversimplification. There's many ways that a human can live the life, you know, and you can see, as a projector, we can see how early in the development, you know, by the time kids get to 13, if they've been in the system, they're going to be like super focused and be like, you know, a lot of them are like, oh, I've got to study this, all this, so that I can be successful in my life. And if an adult comes along and says, hang on a minute, you know, lighten up a bit, have some more fun, they're like, oh, no, I've got to focus. My mum said, my teacher said I got to do this to get these grades to be successful in life. And
you just do it for the grades. You don't do it for you. So they don't do it for themselves. So I did it for the grades. So I don't know. There are many different ways you can go to school. But I did the classic way. And I did it for the grades. So it was not something for my life. And so, yeah, to go back to the learning thing. So this is because of this is a part I'm super interested in, how to learn and how to digest and how to take in information, to maybe, because no, I never see myself as a teacher. But maybe to give information to other people in a different way. I'm not the one-to-one teacher in front of a of a school class or something like that. But yeah, to get it, to filter it, and to give it back, kind of.
I mean, I don't know if you've experienced this, but part of having a projector aura is that we naturally and automatically crystallize and bring clarity to people around us, even without having to do or say anything.
This is the part I didn't know.
Right. So for you, you only have this one undefined center. So this is a great one to study for you, is the sacral center. And we start off by studying the not self, because this is where, like, the not self can live in all of the undefined gates, and it can also be in the defined centers as well, but usually that's more obvious in the undefined centers. So the not self question, as you probably know, is how do I know when enough is enough? So becoming masterful of how you use your energy, and knowing when that point comes of, like, you know, because you've got the emotional center, which is a motor. You've got the root, which can take that pressure and work with it. You've got the will center, which has the ability to say, yes, I'm going to finish this off. Yes, I'm going to get this done. However, you don't have a defined sacral, although you have some gate activation. So it's that feeling of like, hey, you know what? That's enough, you know, and it's so simple, but so not easy. And the cool thing, of course, for us, as all of us projectors, and especially for you, because it's your only undefined center, that's where you accumulate the wisdom to be able to guide others. And this is where ultimately what they say is you go to school in your open centers to build up the wisdom, to come back to yourself. And that's where you can then make your money guiding other people. So ultimately, as projectors, all of us have the capacity within us to be great guides to generators, to saying to generators, whether verbally or just through our presence, hey, you can do that with a whole load less energy. Or you could use your energy doing something which you enjoy a whole load more. Or, you know, is that really what you want to be doing? Or is that really the most efficient way of getting that? Or how about doing it this way? Now, as we said at the start, we've come full circle, because if there's no invitation, it's not going to do any good for anyone. Whereas if there is that openness, and you know, like, it could be as simple as me as a projector, I don't mind doing physical things. You know, we're energy projectors. The three of us here, you, me, and Raluca, are all energy projectors. So it's okay for us to do things when we feel like it. Burn off the energy. Now, if I'm sitting down next to, if there's a generator doing a job, and I'm going to come in and do the same job as the generator, I'm not going to have the same amount of hours to do the job. However, I can be more energized by amplifying it, and I can start getting in my flow. I can watch what they're doing. Straight away, I can see what's efficient and what's not. Even though they've done it for years, I can come straight in and start doing it in a way that might be more efficient. Now, if they notice that and then they pick it up, then great. If not, that's fine too. But it's kind of like, you know, we got to embody it first. And until we learn when enough's enough, you know, if we're burnt out, if we're exhausted, we can't do any guiding for anyone. So that's the, you know, and you're lucky you've only got one open center to debug compared to Raluca's got 7 to work with. I've got 3.
I wanted to say something. No, I wanted to say so many things.
But another one of those things that's like a feeling, isn't it? It's like, you know, that feeling of, oh shit, I'm trying to help someone without being invited. You know, it's like, oh damn, I forgot again.
Yeah.
That's the third line thing, right?
I did that.
And it's like, oh shit, I stayed up last night working on that project, and now I depleted myself, and I'm like the next day. So it's all good learning.
But the funny thing, I had this as a child. I didn't want to go to bed, and I haven't had this barrier, like, it's enough, I'm tired. And I had this for years, like, always this feeling that I go over my barriers, over my strength. And then, like, totally, I never had like stuff like burnout or something like that. This maybe my 3 motors are like saving me, or the rest of my defined stuff is saving me. but yeah, I can go very far, and then I'm like, I'm not physically burned out. My head is burned out. So then it's totally, it's really empty, and I'm not feeling good. But it's mostly the head, not the body.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't think it's a simple, clear-cut answer to going to bed late. Raluca just mentioned on the comments the pretty much same thing. She said she's still trying to figure it out. This thing about, you know, staying up late. Now, it's like there's no one answer. However, the theory says that the human design says, and it fits for me, is that we amplify the energy of other people. And so if we've been around other people who are defined in the sacral, i.e. generators, that energy, you know how, like, do you ever find sometimes if you sit down next to a generator or you sit down to do something, you can actually be more productive than a generator. Like, you can get more done. This is something to look out for. A lot of people share this because this sacral energy gets amplified. So that can be very powerful. On the flip side, it's not your energy. So whatever consciousness comes with that energy is going to be in your system because you've taken it in. And it's like it happens when you're around people. You take in their energy. So this is where, as a projector, you might need to burn off the energy and do stuff, get it out of your system, so then you can rest. Now, then, of course, it depends if you're going into a rest situation, if you're going into a sleep situation in your own aura, or if you're going into a sleep situation with another person's aura, who's a generator, who their aura is buzzing away, and then you're lying there at night, like, can't sleep because of all that energy. So that's one aspect to it. There is another aspect to it, which is, personally, I find that after 10 o'clock at night or before 7 o'clock in the morning, sometimes I can be very clear and productive. And my explanation for that is that because there's less people awake, there's less, like, mental activity in the field. So, you know, and this could sound really woo-woo if someone doesn't experience it, but it's like, sometimes first thing in the morning, late at night, it's kind of like, it's just calmer. So I can feel my creative energies much more clearly in the middle of the night.
Same here. Not really in the middle of the night, like not right at 3 o'clock in the morning, but this time frame after 10 and around 7. So my alarm goes at 7, and I experience that I wake up earlier, and then can work on some thoughts in my head, and they are better than during the day, than when I'm like around in the town, because then most people, as you said, sleep, and I'm even if my boyfriend is laying next to me, I can think very clearly. And in the evening also, when all the people are going to bed, I'm like, oh, finally, it's like getting clear, as if the clouds are going away. But it depends.
Yeah, Raluca's feeling the same vibe, and she's like, finally, I have some space. I mean, imagine if it's like a radio receiver, like, you know, the old radios where you turn the knob and tune into different stations, right? And it's like, what if the human mind is not just what if the human mind is an aerial, so we can sense these things, okay? We can, and like Raluca was saying earlier about learning ideas without it logically knowing how, you know, we know things. And we can feel other people, and we sometimes get the same idea at the same time as another person.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that means that maybe our human mind is an aerial, a receiver, but what if it's a transmitter as well? And so, you know, as a projector, you hang out in a crowd of people. It can be horrible because you can feel all those different sacral energies flying around, you know? So I went to a New Year's Eve event in Australia, and it was supposed to be a great party and a great celebration. And I just felt exhausted. There's thousands of people in a field dancing, and I like music, but and I didn't know this at the time, and I didn't have a clue I was a projector, but what I felt at the time was just exhausted, because all the energy is like, you know, these are people who've been doing jobs, a lot of them doing jobs they hate, that they pretend that life's good. And, you know, the real energy doesn't lie. The energy isn't a joyful energy. It's like, you know, there's loads of people taking drugs to try and feel good and to party. And it's like, yeah, we're partying. But inside their soul is sad. Not everyone, but, you know, a lot of people. And of course, I didn't understand, like, why do I feel so exhausted? Because my mind is telling me everyone's having a good time. But I'm just tuning into what's really going on a deeper level. And I'm much happier on my own. So the same thing with this thing about nighttime. It's like, you know, if all those human minds, especially in a city, have gone into their resting mode and they're sleeping, it's like when you're tuning the radio, instead of it being like, you know, you can tune through and it's quiet. And then you get a signal and you're like, ah, it's beautiful. This is a music I really like. And you can catch that. And it's just the mental space is clear. And I don't think this can be, I mean, it could be this is just my imagination, but all three of us here are feeling the same kind of vibe. So,
Yeah.
you know, Raluca's agreeing on the chat as well. So, you know, I definitely feel that we can get a clear signal after 10 and before 7. There's a nice clear signal. So yeah, and who even knows if, like, as projectors, our best sleeping rhythm is to sleep from 10 at night till 6 in the morning. It could be. Maybe it's better for us to sleep in the daytime sometimes. What if we weren't conditioned that it had to be a certain way, and we could just follow our own body's intelligence to do it how it works for us? So and that's a great thing, isn't it, about breaking out of the, you know, if you're an employee, you have to show up to work from 9 till 5, whereas if it doesn't work, does it?
No, I don't know. I can say I wasn't a bad employee, but I felt really like in a cage. It wasn't something for me to be like to have the bad feeling that I'm late. So when I was after 9, I had the feeling that my colleagues were like, you were late. What happened? And going around 6 was like, oh, have you finished your job? It's more like, and this is the advertising agency industry. Sorry.
And that's a more creative industry in theory, isn't it? So you would expect them to be a bit more relaxed about times and things.
Yeah, they sometimes are. Maybe it's a special. So maybe it's just something that I experienced. But yeah, I was always happy to go home, to have my life, and to be out of this place where so many people were. So we were with a lot of people in one room, and it is loud. You have to. It was too much. It was clearly I have to say it was too much. But the funny thing is, I wanted to say this when you said it's like a radio, and when you have this, you try to get the some clear signal. The thing is, sometimes I love this noise. I really love this noise, because I was thinking about, yeah, maybe the city isn't good for me. Maybe I should. So it was before human design. Maybe we should go to the outskirts of Hamburg, or maybe somewhere else where we are like in peace in nature. And then I was like, yeah, but when I'm then in the mood to drink a coffee or to chat with someone, because I really need this. I really need the exchange, and I really need the exchanged life. Not only via Skype or something else. What do I do then? And
it comes back to that thing earlier, doesn't it, about different people. You need to, you know, as a quad split, that being around other people for some of your life, for some of your 24 hours a day,
Yeah.
can be unlocking those different things. So it doesn't work. It's not about being a hermit and going away and living in the Black Forest in a cave, is it?
No, and it's very, I experienced that it feels like a very complicated machine. So I'm a very complicated, not a complicated, but like it's
complex, intricate.
Complex. Yeah, machine.
No kidding.
So you
we saw your chart.
Yeah, you can't do just this, and this is a solution.
Exactly. It's not like one size fits all, like someone gives you some advice and then you're like, oh, I've worked it out now. You know, this is the whole thing about it being an experiment. You've got at least 6 different bridge gates, you know, like this is complex, it's intricate. It's not like a, you know, and people can, you know, and of course we have this tool of saying, right, come back to your strategy and authority. Now that does make it simple for the mind. But moment by moment, this is intricate. This is a kaleidoscope. This is like, you know, your life is unfolding. So, yeah, I love it. I love it. And this is one thing that's very interesting about human design is saying, well, you know, we might say, oh, it's better to live in nature than live in town and city. But this it's not an absolute truth like that. It's like there's so many subtle nuances. And within your day, there can be times of, you know, having your own space and times of coming into connection. And for me, I find that the key to it is to give myself permission to follow my body, what it wants to do, you know? And that's like, I'm starting to do some work with John Martin, who's one of the projectors that I really respect in the human design experiment. He's been around for a while, Human Design Hawaii. And, you know, one of his videos, he just said, look, it's all about just being in your body and trusting the body. But of course, the systems and structures we have set up in society weren't set up around honoring the truth of the individual's body. You know, they were set up with whatever intention they were set up with. So this is where we, you know, all 3 of us here have found ways to unplug ourselves and do it a little bit differently. So, yeah.
I really love the picture of the passenger, that the mind is a passenger in the body. I really love this because sometimes it feels this way. It feels like you were giving so it's like a costume. So you came here, and you were giving a body, and you have to take care. It's like an animal. Yeah, you have a pet, and you have to like to brush it and to get it clean and everything, but you have to take good care because it's just something someone gave it to you. You have at some point have to give it back in some way.
Sure.
And it's your mission to take good care for the body. Because it's your vehicle on the way. And I have the feeling if you can do experiments, of course, but at the end you have to live in yourself, and it's good to have a good connection to yourself, so to the physical thing. So it's like a little pilot, like I think there was like Black Man in Black. There was this little guy in the head of this human body, and sometimes it feels like this, that you're like in a big machine, and yeah, you have to really take good care. And this is also very important for me, and therefore I'm super interested to give myself the best. So, and human design is so far the best system I experienced that can take my mind and my body to a good place. Yeah.
It's a nice picture, the vehicle. Yeah, there's the mind in the passenger seat. And there's the mind trying to reach across and grab the steering wheel and crash the car. You know, it's like leave it, get back in the passenger seat. Leave the wheel alone. That's not your job. You're not supposed to be steering this thing.
Yeah.
Get off the wheel. Yeah. We just got a little message from Johnny in the comments. He says it's an interesting thing about sleeping patterns. He's indirect light, and he always felt more calm working and being a lot more productive at night. That's from Johnny in Portugal. Just going to say a quick hello. We've got Moni in Chicago on the call. We've got Heather, who I believe is in Canada. I can't remember exactly where. But yeah, thanks for jumping in live. It's cool to have some of the study group in here, and I hope this has been useful. Does anyone have any questions, either directly to Martina or a question about Martina's chart? We're going to pull it up one more time. If so, please just type in the comments. Oh, actually, there is one thing I want to talk about. Martina, do you know much about your incarnation cross?
I wanted to ask the same. I just read that it's an incarnation cross of the 4 ways, and it is about really 4 ways. So 4 different aspects. I think I had some.
What's very interesting is, I think, let's just check this. So you've got the 19, the 33, the 44, and the 24. Now I think that all of those are part of your channels. So your 19, obviously you've got 1949. Your 33, you have the 1333. The 44 is part of the 4426. And the 24 is part of the 2461. So what's very interesting is that every single one of the gates in your incarnation cross is part of your, is part of a, oops, that's my friend, is part of a channel in your body graph. You see what I mean?
Yeah, but isn't it always like this?
No.
Oh.
No. In my incarnation cross, I have the 49 is a hanging gate, and then I've got 3 of them in channels. Think of someone who's a reflector has 4 gates, and none of those are part of any channels, right?
Okay.
So I've never before seen someone who's all of the gates of their incarnation cross are part of channels. So let's just look at your chart again, because this is super interesting. Right, so you have 4 channels. So let's just pull this up again. Let's have another look at it. So let's share your body graph. Now, what that means is that the energy, when the energy is in a hanging gate, it kind of stuck there. It kind of doesn't have the same ability to move around. So even though you need other people to bridge your splits, the energy in your incarnation cross is free to have some movement within the defined centers. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk this through, because this is juicy to me. So see how it's got the cross of the 4 ways, 1933 and 4424. So we've got 19 conscious, 33 conscious earth, and both of those we can see. There's your 33 on the throat, and there's your 19 on the root. And both of those are connected in channels to the G and to the emotional center, so it can flow, right? Then let's look at the unconscious, the 44 at the top here, and then the 24. So the 44 is down here on the spleen, and it connects across this channel to the 26. At the top, you've got the 2461, where the gate 24 connects up to the gate 61. So I've never seen that before. Every single one of your gates is part of a channel.
Yeah, and for me, because I never looked at this particular part on the other charts of my friends, I was like, yeah, I thought.
Yep.
So I thought this is kind of normal, but then I was like, yeah, these are all channels. But some people just have 1 channel, so, but I didn't go further this way. So
we could look at, if I'm sure it's okay with Raluca, if we look at her chart here. So, oh, that's a composite chart. Let's go to Raluca's chart.
Yeah, and make a little
So
bit more
she
light.
has 63. Let's just have a quick look at this. So Raluca's got, in her incarnation cross, she's got 63 and 64. Then she's got 26 and 45. So if we look at those, 63 is here on the head center. 64 is also there on the head center. But if you look, both of those are just hanging gates.
Yeah.
And then if we look at the 20, so the energy doesn't really have anywhere to go when she's on her own.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And then she's got the 26 and the 45. The 26 is the gate of the egoist, and the 45 is it's the king up here. So Raluca has the opposite. She has all 4 of her incarnation cross gates are hanging gates, whereas all 4 of yours are in channels that can flow and move. So that's an interesting thing there.
So what does it, so is it like the incarnation cross can, so like you said, it can move freely?
Yeah,
I
mean,
then serve on the channels?
Right. So think about a hanging gate can have energy, but there's nowhere for it to flow because there's no channel. So there's no link, there's no bridge between the centers until you come into connection with someone else or the current transit. So for you, this gate 24, the energy can flow at least up into your head center and back into the ajna. So the energy can move, yeah? And the same for your 19. That pressure can flow up into the emotional center and back again. So it's fascinating. You have the right angle cross of the 4 ways. You're a quad split. You have 4 channels, and each of the gates of your incarnation cross is in one of your splits. It's in one of your channels. Super interesting.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to.
And I suspect that this information, we've got a bad connection here, but go ahead.
No, I really would love I really would love to know more about it. So what it really means for me, I read that if you maybe have, in the case you have 2 gates activated that are the same, it's more spot on this special topic. So when I have not only these gates, I have these channels, and then I have on them the incarnation cross amplifies the whole thing.
Yeah, and you can see that you have gate 19 in your south node as well.
Yeah.
And you have gate 33 in your north node as well. So both of those are double activations. Then if we look on the left side, your gate 44, you also have it like halfway down on Mercury, 44.6. And then your 24, you only have it once. But what that means is that those gates have got 7 activations on them. So those gates have got a lot of activation. So they're great. They're great places to start studying the gates for you. And we can continue that in the study group that you're in, of course.
Yeah, cool.
And I would say to just look out for, I don't have the full clarity of like to say exactly what all that means. It's complex. And you're going to discover that over time, at some point in the future. It might be in a year or a month or 10 years from now. You're going to get insight on this as you continue living the experiment. And I'd love to hear from you when that time comes, like when you get that clarity of, yeah, I can feel, these different parts, or however it plays out for you.
But can I ask you something?
Of course.
Would you recommend to get this? So they are always talking about a basic or a foundational reading to get the basic stuff. So you have to a place where to start from, or is it something?
Yeah. Look, a lot of people in the human design community will say when you start your experiment, you get a basic foundation reading, and that is the start of your experiment of your 7 years. Yeah. Now, for me, that has not been at all how I've felt to do it. So I first found out about human design about 5 years ago, and I didn't really dive deep into it. And then about people say, how long have you been in your experiment? I didn't just say, right, now I'm starting. I came in a little bit, learned a little bit, and I was like, yeah, okay, I don't really get that. And then a couple of years later, it came back again. And the thing that I heard was projectors are good at learning systems, and human design is one of those systems. So I was like, right, I'm going to learn this system. Now, even though I hadn't really studied it, I could feel that I was now ready, whereas before, when I first heard about it, I wasn't ready. So then I started learning. Now I'm 3 or 4 years into my experiment, and I literally just last night paid for my foundation reading. Now, for me, I feel like that is going to fill in the gaps of what I already understand and where I'm already up to. So that feels like it just worked out that way. It wasn't a conscious choice, but for me to study, I also learn by sharing with others and by teaching. I've got this cross explanation. So for me personally, that's been my journey.
Okay.
You know, I'm however you count it, I'm either 3 years or 5 years or whatever into the experiment. It's also been the first time that I felt an invitation that I felt was good, and that I feel like I can be seen by this. I'm having a reading with John Martin, so it's the first time I feel like, you know, there've been a lot of other people floating around saying, oh, you should look it up, but I've not felt drawn to work with any of the people that I've come across. And I've had a lot of people who've initiated contact with me and started telling me stuff about my chart when I didn't ask. And I'm like, look, if you're a really experienced projector and you're good at this and you're the right person for me, then I will feel really seen and I will feel invited. And yeah, and it's the first time I felt that. So I would just say, you'll know when the time is right.
Okay.
And, you know, this isn't a reading, of course, but we've mapped out some of the territory that is for you to explore.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I was just asking because I found this woman. I first thought it would be better to do it in my own language. But I was like, no, I think I can't do it. It was the first thought. It's like, no, I don't think this is right. But then I stumbled upon a link somebody posted in one of the groups, in one of the projector groups. And I came on a YouTube channel of a woman in, I think, Canada. And I was like, yeah, I really like her. I really like her. I really liked her style of explaining. And I wrote to her. I guess she's a generator. I think she's a generator. But this didn't matter. And I think it would be better to have it with a projector. But then I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I wrote to her, and it felt right, what she told me. And because of this background information I now have, I wanted to ask this question: what you would say is right? But then I was like, yeah, maybe I should know what is right or not.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for letting me off the hook. What I would say is that, you know, whatever feels, you mentioned earlier, it was important for you that it feels fun, that it feels juicy. You didn't say juicy, but, you know, if it feels good, then, you know, and I also think as well, in this world we live in, you should be able to get, you know, before committing to a reading is a commitment of time, energy, and money. So before committing to that, like, here's an example. When I pay, like, John Martin charges $300 for a reading, so it's not like a tiny little thing. But where I am in my journey, I feel like I really get what he shares in his videos, and I feel in myself, I feel like, you know, there's something about his energy, his way of being, that I actually feel really good about supporting. And I also feel like I've already gotten loads of value from his videos. You see what I mean? You know, so we're in this world now where we put out a lot of information for free. We do a lot of stuff that's like, you know, because we love to do it. And, you know, and that if someone can receive value from that, then that's great. And if someone doesn't receive any value from it, then that's fine. They're not the right person, you know. So trust your feeling and ride out your wave. And, you know, when I work with people with emotional authority, I will often say to them, okay, do some journaling each day, like either before you go to bed at night or first thing in the morning. Just get in a rhythm. Ask yourself the question before you go to bed. You can say, right, how do I feel about getting this reading with this person? Then in the morning, you start writing. You say, today I feel like it's too much money and I'm not ready, and blah, 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 blah. And then 3 days later, you do it every day, and then 3 days later, you look back, and in your journal it says, I think this would be amazing. I'm really excited about learning. And then over a week, you have those different snapshots, and then you can go, yeah, okay, well, it could be amazing. It might be too much money, or it could be, you know, blah. And then over time, you see the clarity of what's true for you.
Yeah.
So that's one way that you could work with your emotional authority. And of course, you're a third line, so don't worry about making a mistake either which way around.
Well.
Let's have a quick read of your incarnation cross. So we mentioned the 4 different gates. Gate 19 is wanting, which is on the root. Gate 33 is privacy, which is very interesting because it matches up with gate 13, the gate of the listener. So there's listening and privacy. Gate 44, alertness, which is on the spleen. It matches up with the egoist, the 26 on the will. And then you've got gate 24, rationalizing, which is part of the channel of the thinker. Wow, that's a lot of information. Let's see how that goes. But what it says on this site is your cross is driven by the energy to make sure everyone has what they need. The most fundamental need being food. For you, this may just be a drive to make sure your family is fed. But for most with this cross, it is greater than that and can extend to the community, the country, or the world. In addition, your cross has a deep spiritual connection that is intertwined with the drive to feed. It seems like this tribal channel down here, this 1949, my incarnation cross has a thing about food as well. So it's about people's need for nourishment being met. So of course, the incarnation cross, there's nothing to do. This will be the pattern that unfolds itself and that reveals itself through your life, through the experiment.
Yeah, I read this. Yeah. It's not something that we are born with. I think it said something like this. It's nothing that it's not something with what we are born with. Is something that we maybe experience in parts and then have a whole experience over time.
We grow into it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So is there anything else you wanted to ask about in your chart or anything at all?
Yes, not clearly about the chart, but what I was experiencing was I wrote some things down that you guys have a little view on me or into my head, and I also thought about how it will go through the interview, and that I will ask questions and say, yeah, but my life is like this, and complain, because sometimes I complain a lot because my job is not like it should be, and I should earn more money, I should be this and that. And the funny thing is, always when I have a run, I always say, when I have a run, then it's not that important anymore. All my complaints, all my thoughts that I've got in my head, about me feeling not good, being not good enough, and all this stuff are gone in this moment. And then I really feel in this position that I see on my body graph. Then I really can feel it to be like this, because I was thinking, yeah, can it be that that all my centers are defined, and can it really be that I'm not so that other people can't come around and influence me in a way that I've got a pretty good view on me and my life. And when I'm alone, I struggle a lot. But in this case, I can say, so for this moment, for this little snapshot we have right here, I feel really me. So I feel really, really confident. So I know this feeling, of course, but I can say that I feel really, really me, that I have my opinions and my thoughts and try to verbalize it, and that it feels really good, that it feels really, juicy.
It's really the highest compliment that I could have, is if someone says to me, hey, I really felt like me. You know, that's a real high compliment to receive that. You know, that's my intention with this space, is that, you know, there's not so much to do. It's like, you know, to be seen by another person, another projector, just to be seen and be like, you know, and like you're saying, here's the mind again trying to reach over and grab the steering wheel and saying, you should have more money, you should be doing a different job, you should be happier, you should blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, get your hands off the wheel, you know. Yeah. It's all, we're actually doing okay here, you know. We're really where we need to be. Your vehicle is in the perfect place at the perfect time.
And you know, it's really important to have moments like this, because I think other people experience it in a similar way, kind of maybe. But in between, so over the years, I was really sometimes thinking, am I kind of sick? Should I go to a psychiatrist, or should I talk to someone about the weird stuff that's my head, that's not really weird but feels weird?
Because it's other people, right? It's like not normal, so maybe it's something you need to get fixed, or something that's
fixed, or someone who puts the dots together.
Yeah.
So, but now I kind of know, and I hope when I'm down in my wave, I know it. I still know it, that this is not sickness. This is just maybe the part of me that needs to be bridged in this moment.
It's such a sweet little shift, isn't it? It's like, hey, maybe there's nothing wrong. Maybe I'm just on the down part of my way.
Yeah, and to feel it, and to it's not all about explaining life, but it's about to understand just a little part of it, so you are not totally worried that something goes very wrong, and that you're like, oh no, I'm not okay, I'm not good, I'm different. I'm not so different that I'm in a hospital, but I'm different enough to feel different. But then to have to get these moments of clarity that tell you, hey, no, everything is fine. This is not just a high. This is just you getting clear for a moment. Like all the way you're diving, and then you're getting up and taking some fresh air. And then you're diving again, and then you're up, and then getting some breath of fresh air again. So it's really good to have that in mind, that I think we all are totally healthy. Maybe not all of us, but the most part of us are healthy, but they're just thinking there's something entirely wrong, and then they totally go inward, and they're making it worse themselves.
Yeah, and the mind
But
can be powerful. If the mind thinks there's something wrong and it's grabbing at the wheel
yeah,
the whole time, well, then there is something wrong. You know, it's like, yeah, there is something wrong. There's the mind grabbing the wheel the whole time. That's what's
yeah.
wrong.
So
So
I didn't want to offend really sick. So there are sick people. There are sick people, and I didn't want to offend these people that really need help. But I just wanted to say that there are enough people that are totally healthy that just think they are sick, and
if you
they are.
look at it from that perspective of, you know, you could look at the world and say, oh, there's a mistakes, everything's wrong, everything's a problem, and that could be true. And then you can try and solve the problems. Or you can look at it from a perspective of saying, you know what, each of us is exactly where we need to be right now to learn what we need to learn. Now, if someone's watching this and they're in a hole and they're in a difficult scenario, then my feeling is amazing. That person has the courage to face whatever they're facing right now. Because if they didn't have the courage to face it, their higher self or universe or spirit or the unconscious wouldn't have created that scenario for them at this time. Now, sometimes the people who struggle with the most things are then able to help others with those things. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Any experience someone is going through, if someone's struggling with alcoholism, if someone's got no money, if someone's living on the street, whatever might be their struggle they're facing, when they can overcome that struggle and when they can make progress, when they can make that choice to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to come through this, I'm going to find my inner strength. Then when that person comes out the other side of it, they have that real wisdom to be able to guide other people.
Yeah, it's
You
wisdom
earn it,
through
you work for it.
experience. Yeah.
And, you know, I personally have been through times where I have felt depressed, and I felt like, you know, my triathlon coach at one stage suggested I should get some medication for being depressed. And I went for weeks and months without having any energy, and I didn't know I was a projector. So, you know, I do feel like I'm in a position to have compassion for that. And at the same time, to be able to point out where it's not real. If someone wants to have that, you know, it's of course it's real if you're depressed. It was real for me, but at the same time, it's like, well, what does your heart, what does your spirit desire? Well, my spirit wants to feel like I mean something to someone, like I can make a difference somewhere in the world. And that for me was like the slowly climbing out of depression, you know. So it of course it's important to have compassion, but at the same time it's like, well what do you want? Like, you know, where do you want to be in that experience, or do you want something different? And of course with human design we say, well, there's no choice. However, the final thing I wanted to mention, of course there's a choice. There's a choice whether you let the mind run the show or whether you get the mind off the steering wheel. I did want to mention to you the melancholy gates, because all of the individual gates and channels have a melancholy to them. And melancholy works in a rhythm and a wave, like we were saying at the start. So in the spring, the leaves all come out of the trees. The buds come out and the energy comes out. In the winter, the energy goes back into the ground and back into the tree. So if you're in the winter, but you think there should be more sunshine and more green leaves, that's the mind's insanity. And that can be one of the ways that depression can come in, because, you know, that, do you want to see them briefly?
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Let's pull these up, because when there's never been a time when I've shown these to someone and they haven't found them really, I don't know about healing, but, you know, when they haven't found them to be very powerful. There they are, the melancholy gates. Let's pull this up on the screen here. Let's share. Let's go back to the meeting. And so the individual channels are always the ones that go down the middle. So that channel between your top two centers. So you've got the 124. Is that coming through big enough? Let me zoom in a bit and let me see if I can, I'll read them out for you. So gate 61 is up in the head center, and it's melancholy over lack of inspiration. Gate 24 is melancholy over no resolution and therefore no inner silence.
Yeah.
What else do you have on the individual? You've also got gate 14 and gate 28. So gate 14 is melancholy about not having to work or not. That doesn't quite make sense, but it's about whether you have to work or not. And gate 28 is life as devoid of purpose. I mean, that's a pretty intense setup with those four.
What is devoid? Sorry, I have to
it's totally lacking of purpose. There's no.
Oh, yeah, it totally hits the spot.
So, you know, the thing with this individual circuitry is the energy comes when it comes. It's not always on. It comes in pulses. So, you know, when there's no energy there, this is when the melancholy happens. So sometimes you feel inspired, and then other times you're like, damn, where's the inspiration gone? And that can go to depression. That melancholy can turn to depression if you then think, oh, there's something wrong. I should have energy for inspiration. Yeah. I should know what my purpose is. I should be clear on whether I've got to work or not.
This is so cool. This totally resonates with me.
Cool. So I might do a live about this because it's, and I can send you this file. We can send this file to you so you can work with it in more detail.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
So I mean, how cool is this with human design? Is you can take someone who thinks they're depressed, like me, how I was, if they want to, if there's an invitation, you can show them this diagram and you can say, well, is it possible that you're not depressed? Is it possible that you're just in a melancholy gap between the energy coming? And that you could just, and look, here it is mapped out. Yeah, you've got this melancholy, that one, and that one. And let me know when the energy comes back, you know, like, oh yeah, there's a pulse of energy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But this is super cool. Yeah, this is also like the knowing about the high or the being oneself, or the true self or something like this. This is also super cool to know that there's something like predefined melancholy. And for me, it's super cool because I had a phase where I asked my mother if there's any depression in our family, and she was like, "No, there's no depression. You got just like you just feeling depressed. Like it's a difference to feel depressed and to have a depression." And I was like, "No, it feels so super." So I told myself, no, it's super intense. It's super intense. And then I did myself the favor and read about it. So when a depression is a depression, you have to have it for a couple of days in the same intensity and everything. And I was like, no, it's not a depression, but it feels like it. It fits all the points that they are mentioning. And this makes so much more sense now that there's a wave coming and going and leaving me alone, like, thank you for nothing. But this is now I can love about it. I think I'm able to love about it. If I remember it in the right moment, I can now think, it's part of me, and I'm okay. I'm more okay if it's a part of me that I know of, like I have blonde hair or my shoe size is this and that. It's like it's a part of me.
Yeah.
And I can make friends. No, I can make friends. I can befriend it.
Definitely, yeah.
So I can invite it and say, okay, I don't really like you, but hey, you're a part of me, and you can stay if you want, but not for that long.
And this is the thing, is it's like, how can we, I mean, this is deep. How can we make friends with every single part of ourselves? Like, whether we're using human design or any tool, how can we make friends with the parts of ourselves that are shitty, that are mean, that are unhappy, that feel worthless? That how can we make friends with those parts of ourselves? Because here's the thing. You've heard the expression, what we resist persists. So, you know, imagine a little child who wants to be loved, and the child is told, no, you're a bad child, go away. But the child actually really knows that they're just a child. They want your attention. That part of us wants our attention. It wants to be loved. And the more we try and push it away and say, no, you're bad, you're getting in the way, go away, then the child's going to make a tantrum and create a fuss and become the focus of attention. So for me, depression is like that. Like, you know, it's like there is a part that wants to be loved. And the more we try and push it away, the harder it gets. Whereas what you said is so beautiful about making friends with those parts of ourselves. You know?
It sounds super easy, but it isn't.
Of course not easy.
I just wanted to tell it. So I don't want to sound like, hey, I've got the solution to everything, but it's no, it's because I say it like so easily, but it definitely isn't. And meet me, I don't know, in 2 or 3 days when I'm really down and I'm under the weather and it's super dark and I'm really down and the melancholy stuff is coming back. Then meet me again and say, hey, you have to make friends with all this stuff. Yeah, but it's also learning with everything, and I know that, and I'm so happy then that I know in my conscious moments that I maybe a little part of me can tell the depressed or melancholic me, sorry, it's getting better, but it is like it is, and it's getting better. And don't concentrate on this. It's just a moment. It's just a moment of time, and it's part of the game.
And this too shall pass, right? You know, nothing is permanent. This is it's not gonna be like this forever.
Yeah. Like with Monopoly, you are not always in the prison.
Sure, in Monopoly you go to jail and you come out of jail. Yeah. Heather asked a question here about is there also a relevance to not being seen with depression? For me, I feel like there's an existential longing in me to feel that I'm significant, that I can make some change on the world. And it's not like I want attention. It's like I want to feel powerful. I want to feel like there's a point to me being here. And I think that that's what depression can be, is like, you know, if we lose connection with the feeling that we're here for some purpose, that there's some meaning to all of this. You know, I don't know about you, but for me, if there's I've got that channel of struggle, you know, the 2838. And so I struggle a lot in my life. Life isn't easy. Life doesn't just flow and unfold. No. But however, if I feel that there's some purpose to me being here as a guide or as someone who's doing something that someone cares about somewhere, then it's like, well, I can endure that struggle because I know it means something. Like, you know, and there's going to be, you know, there could be any number of people someone with depression might watch this and feel, oh my God, those guys just don't understand. Depression's really hard, you know.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
However, if I'm speaking to one person, i.e. you, and I share that gates of melancholy, and you get a glimmer of something, and you're like, wow, well, next time I feel low, I'll remember. And, you know, because we accept the gifts of those gates, you know, those melancholy gates all have a gift. They all have that beautiful creative energy that comes through when it's ready. And so, but then we can also accept that other times there's no energy there. And if one person can have a more feel more of a sense of connection for purpose and more self-acceptance and making friends with all of themselves, then I can rest happy, because I know that, you know, today, one person, I could share that information and it made a difference to one person.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I like the feeling too, with that comes with sharing an information that somebody really, he didn't know that he needs it, but then if he gets it, it's like, I know, you open totally new doors for me.
There's something opens up. So if one person watching this, either live or on the replay, is like, wow, I'm going to look into these melancholy gates, and goes and does some research and something shifts, and hopefully someone will leave us a comment and we'll go, hey, there's that person that got it, you know. And it doesn't matter if it's just one person for me. That's enough. So, and that's a ripple that goes out. So I feel really good, and I'm really grateful for this conversation. The time has flown. We're 2.5 hours in, and
what the fuck?
Raluca's been
I'm super hungry. I thought it just 1.5 hours. My boyfriend was knocking on the door 1 hour ago. I was like, no, sorry, I'm on a call. And he was like, yeah, okay, bye, see you later. And I was like, 2.5 hours. Wow.
Well, there's a few motors defined, so, you know, and it hasn't felt like a struggle. It's felt very easy. So, you know, maybe enough's enough. Maybe we quit while we're still feeling good. You know, maybe we're done. So Heather just said, thanks everyone. Excellent discussion. Yeah, it's been great having people jump in, and I know people are listening live, and that's really cool to have a few people listening. And I know lots of people are going to enjoy this on the replay. And Raluca, I promised Raluca that I would not dance around the topics so much. So hopefully we could have a section on incarnation cross, a section on profile, a section on quad split. So I'm going to ask her how we did after the call anyway. Not everyone has 2.5 hours. Not everyone thinks they have 2.5 hours. So we share it with people, like, hey, if you want to watch, you know, this section about quad split or this section about 1-3, we give them the shortcuts so they can jump straight in.
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
Thank you.
you're really welcome. We'll share this back with you, and you know, let us know how it lands. You know, you can be in touch with Raluca or myself. We'll see you in the study group, and yeah, really thank you for being so just being yourself. It's great.
Yeah, thank you for letting me be myself, and thank you for inviting me.
Beautiful. Have a sweet evening, and I'll see you real soon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Ciao.